I'm happy to see you, and thanks for the invitation of this interview.
But I was actually really happy to get this opportunity to talk to you, because you have such a unique experience in opera and, as far as I understand, in digital and in modern technologies. Because what I have read from the website of the opera house, Maskata, that it was the first in the world that was equipped with some special radio multimedia system.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Can you explain what does it mean? I do not really get something on the backs of the seat, some screens or some audio equipment.
Okay, I want to tell you before how we intend this, because digital opera, digital experience can be interpreted in many different ways. But what we are talking about for us, for what we did in the Royal Opera House Maskata, the real difference between the is not the size of the opera company or even the kind of technology being used. Rather, it's like a question of how live performers are being integrated within the digital elements of stage. Is the technology used to create a background scenery, like a high-tech version of traditional painted sets, or is the production experimenting with the relationship between the live and the digital in a more innovative way? What we did with some of our production, especially I can mention a production that we did in 2018. It was a Lacme by Leo De Lips, staged by an Italian director called, his name is Davide Livermore, and he is very famous for introducing in the production of an opera many technological elements in the production. And it's not like the common, for example, screen that you can put and project and other thing. It's something a little bit different, more advanced, and mainly, how to say, using LED wall screens. So it seems like you know better than me, which is a LED. It's like a 1,000 of small television, and so all together that can how to say, create a scenery with an incredible realistic touch. Now the problem is sometimes is how the singers can interact with these elements. It is not only projection in a normal way, but it's also the combination between what's happening in the screen, so in the, let's call in the scenery, in the image and other things, together with the acting of the actors. And sometimes many people says that this is, reduce the capabilities of the artist to move, because you need to interact like in a choreography, very well, defined. And that could be called like a limitation of what's happening on the stage, on the story of the opera. But I think is the way for the future, no? Anyway, the music is there, and it's the most important element. And how can it reach you, the experience for the audience through using technologies? It's really unique, and look at the future. We know very well that especially the young generation now are a little bit, how to say, they get bored very soon.
Very quickly.
Exactly. So the elements, what we in opera, or you in a symphonic concert, or the event should be something that goes directly in the mentality and the way of style of life of the young generation, because digital is for the future mainly. We cannot only think to the old generation. The old generation will change. We need to look at the new, how to say, models. And in this case, especially for us, in this production, that it is a big co-production with different opera houses in the world, from Australia, China, and Europe, and so on. We create with Davide this production, really, really different, and using this kind of elements that put you inside in a different world. Unfortunately, I know that also Davide was called by Valerie to do 5 production in Marischi, but unfortunately, what's happened created, some problems. Yes, unfortunately, like that.
Yeah, but so there are so many people involved in this process, creating the production with the digital scenery. So how to make them work in the team, like the director and the digital director, how they should discuss and find a solution for their production.
Yeah, it's true. Using the digital technology is, like say, it's more than a matter of mere spectacle or aesthetic, but has a huge implications for the very processes that make opera what it is. Depending on its scope, digital technology can have a major impact on creative hierarchies, rehearsal process, and even the performance experience. And as soon as digital projection become more than background scenery, a production needs significantly more planning, more rehearsal time, and potentially more funding to bring everything together on stage. And meanwhile, as digital projection play a more prominent role, so too does the projection and or the video designer and or animator within the creative hierarchy. It's a different process. And the biggest impact, as I said before, is often on the performer, who may be forced to adjust his or her behavior on stage in order to make the technology work. I remember a wonderful production that Barry Kosky, that is the intendant of the Comic Opera in Berlin, did with his magic flute. So while the illusion of interactivity between the performers and the digital elements creates a spectacular effect for the audience, the illusion is only possible if the performers adhere to extremely restrictive choreography, as I said before. As a result, this kind of production have been accused sometimes for turning live performance into like puppets for the sake of digital technology. But despite these obstacles, Opera Digital's future is already well underway. The first step for opera companies is to join to this wonderful party.
But digital technologies, do they make the production cheaper?
My dear.
Or more expensive, maybe?
You got a point. In theory, using the technologies should, as I said, the process of rehearsal could be, reduced in terms of, that a production, opera production, at least, I'm talking in a opera house, in European opera house, for a new production, the time is at least between 30 or 40 days of all the process. To create, I'd say that our Lacme with Davide was done in 10 days. Because there was in advance a very big job for the creating the scenery in terms of do the movie, the film, and other things, and in terms of funds, depends which kind of technology you use. Sometimes if you use a really incredible, well advanced, and you have not in the theater, you need to hire all the technology, and sometimes it's very, very expensive. But I guarantee you, it's not like the same amount or same cost for a production, let's say, of Zeffirelli or Bob Carson or whatever, obviously.
I got it. But okay, digital technologies, they fit very good in the new opera in Oman, for example. But when it comes to Arena di Verona, for example, an ancient location, how do they fit? Or is it possible to fit in these digital technologies in this ancient location?
You're talking about Arena di Verona, yes.
For example.
Okay, you know that I was artistic director for
that's why I'm asking.
there, so I know very well the space. And my aim, it was because it was the period from 2010 and 12, is to create really using the technologies, the digital technology in Arena. But in that case, we need to consider which kind of audience we have. Arena di Verona is a different case. It's more like how to say a space where people come not only to see the opera but to attend at an event, because it's very particular. It's a really emotional space, and people that more of them are tourists. They come from all over the world. The real opera lover in Arena di Verona are calculated about 6 or 7%. So the rest is tourists. So you need to present something that satisfies, the vision. And they did it with obviously big scenery, big machinery, but built. And my aim, as I said, it was to create something more, and I thought a lot how to, produce an opera title with digital. And at the end, I thought it was not the way, but it was the digital technology, in this case, in Arena di Verona, to use a big event like a big feast that involves not only the inside, but also outside Arena di Verona space. There's something involved with the public audience using like a path that goes from out to indoor, and to do like the big feast that you know better than me are done for the opening of big ceremonies of sport, of something that it's related to the opera, but you cannot do with an Aida or a Trovatore, or because people are expecting till now, because something really the production with this set. But it's not said that in the future maybe someone will do something something particular for that.
And, I have read in one of your interviews, I guess you said it a couple of years ago, that your goal is not to make opera for elites, to make opera for the broader auditory.
Correct.
And does digital help this goal? And how does it work with it?
Absolutely, yes. It works perfectly because, as I said, we need to look at the future. We need to look at the young generation. If not, the opera model is, as we do now, is really destined to die if we don't change. Now there is this introduction of technology in the opera combination, as I mentioned, and happens in different production, but it's not still the way. The interactivity of the audience is the future, something that you are going to see and attend an opera, and you are inside the opera, and you can also enjoy what's happening, not in a frontal way, but in a let's say, not 3D, it's 4D dimension. There are some examples that started to use, for example, the yes, but I think it's still in evolution. I heard recently that in my city in Brescia was realized that like a small Traviata, but with this concept but I didn't see exactly what it is. They will send me they invited many times, but I couldn't go. It seems that it's something that you can create the story, with the opera. So meaning that we are interactive, using digital image, digital technologies, and being like you sit down close to Violetta and see what's happening exactly in that moment when she sings. It's something very particular. I don't know exactly, but I will tell you what you're talking about. So the dimension will be really, you know, the future of the world, especially now we are facing big changes, but it's not because of these stupid things that are happening, but because the human being is completely becoming new. And unfortunately, I have to say, by the other side, the artificial intelligence is taking a lot of power. And this will also, let's say, control more than before our life. And maybe those elements that we see in some movies of what's happened, you know, so 30 years ago, that see the future, where the human being is like replaced with, you know, some elements that you can see, you know, they put something in your body, but with this you can see, you can do, you can order. You know, I think will happen also in the cultural field, in the show, and so it's a big change happening that started with the pandemic. And it's not only the pandemic, will be more and more bigger changes for the world. And I think this will happen in the next 40, 60 years. I won't be here, you, yes, and maybe you will be lucky or not to see what's going to happen in this world. And maybe you'll be, as I said, you will enjoy a different participation in what's happening. Maybe you don't need to go to the opera. Maybe you stay home and you see and you enjoy everything.
But would you personally like to participate in this experiment and to use these devices to help you to hear for a long distance or to see on the long distance?
No, you know, I was born like a musician, a pianist, and I love opera, and my favorite composer are all from Russia, and I also always performed Russian composers, mainly Scriabin. And for me, the music is something that cannot be really, you know, where you cannot put some too much elements that bring. It's something that it's carnal, no? It's like what to say? It's a live experience that cannot be substituted by anything else.
Okay, but that was my next question. Opera, and the main thing in opera is music, and then also words. And then now we are getting digital. So how to keep the balance so that digital wouldn't close with its bright and very aggressive content, the music? How to keep this balance in between music and digital content, digital scenography?
You know, I don't think really that there is such a big problem to, you know, put a compatibility between the music and something that is could result like you know, shocking or aggressive or something similar, because as I said before, especially the young are used to see shocking events in the daily life. So if you see also in a stage, I don't think that there are. So you don't need to adapt the music to or the digital to. The most important you know, part is that the director, the creator, should have a, you know, a logic of what he's doing, and to create a product that you know, when you go out from the theater, you are not thinking to go to eat pizza, but you think about what's happened before.